This is the opportunity of a lifetime for people that have businesses and brands out there. Email us right now at advertise at hiphopun.com and you will get an opportunity to put your brand right in front of each video that we do. And let me tell you, the prices are crazy affordable. You definitely can afford it.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's right. Definitely. And that's gonna be some good food. But yeah, let's talk about, I seen your channel. You talk, you're talking about the Kanye West. I guess it's kind of dying down today, but he has another interview coming out tonight, I think, with Piers Morgan, where they said he apologized. Can you kind of give us an overview of how you feel about, from top to bottom, the Kanye West situation?
Yeah. First, I want to say that I'm a huge Kanye fan. I'm originally grew up in New York, so I watched Kanye through the wire in the hospital bed. When his jaw was wired shut. So I've been a fan for just that long. I believe that there's a lot of truth to what Kanye is saying. I believe that Kanye is someone who is battling and trying to break the matrix. I think that us as a community, no, do we ever always agree? No, we don't. But are we going to be a part of the establishment that's going to tear down another black man? I don't want to be a part of that. I didn't necessarily agree with him wearing the White Lives Matter shirt. There were some comments that he made, surrounding the whole George Floyd thing that I didn't necessarily agree with, because I believe two things can be true. I believe that George Floyd was high, and I do believe that the police officers killed him. And I don't think that being high is an excuse for somebody to kill you, because I've been to prison and I was locked up with a lot of white crackheads, and they didn't have nobody knee on their neck for 9 minutes. So, but outside of those two things, if we're paying attention to what Kanye is saying, it's no different than what we've heard other people say that come against the establishment. And then the next thing we know, they're silenced and completely torn down. I completely support freedom of speech. We don't have to agree with everybody, with everything everyone says, but we should agree with their right to be able to say it.
Well said. What do you think about that whole dynamic, though, in particular, when it seems to come to the black community? If we say anything off script, according to those in power, it seems as if we are forced to apologize by any means necessary. I mean, we see today that clips are going around that Kanye, in fact, even apologized for what's going on. So why does it seem as though that's a running and trending issue that seems to be going on? And why is it only us to seem like that camera comes down on, in your opinion, if it is that?
And I saw some clips from the Piers Morgan interview, and I'm reading a lot of Kanye's body language, and I think that's what he's showing us. Like, as long as we was talking about hip hop in the culture, we were part of the culture. You know what I'm saying? We grew up with it. We listened to it. We supported it. Our families, our loved ones, friends, or whatever. But we can rap about killing each other all day. We can rap about aborting our babies. We can rap about setting up our friends. We can rap about hitting licks. We can rap about selling each other drugs. We can do everything that leads to the destruction of black life. And they won't do anything to shut it down. They won't do anything to come against it. In fact, you can't even get a #1 hit unless that's what you're talking about. So I think that Kanye has proven his point. You can say, like, how does black life matter? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Now, me, I'm pro-life. A lot of people don't agree with that. And I hadn't always been pro-life. I'm also post-abortion. But when I learned about the systemic racism and the history, in abortion, and we out here on the front line talking about Black Lives Matter without having an understanding that black life begins in the womb, all y'all got here because y'all black mama got pregnant. That's the origin of black life. Do Black Lives Matter or does it not? That's the question.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's deep. What do you see in the end game? Because you see a lot of, black people came out attacking Kanye West before even the other side attacked him. What do you see the end game being with the whole Kanye West controversy now? Where do you see this going?
Well, I think that our brother is brave for standing on the front line, because I don't have billions of dollars and I don't have the platform that Kanye has, but I have been censored and I have lost several platforms for speaking the unpopular opinion and standing in my truth. And I am hoping and praying that, you know, Kanye can be the one to open up all of our eyes as to what we are really and truly against. I think that there are so many things to keep us divided, right? We can fight about, you know, the racism. We can fight about politics. We can fight about sexual, gender choice, whatever. We can fight about who got money, who don't got money. And as long as we're divided, we'll never be united. But I think that this is a time that we all got to open up our eyes and really look and see what's going on around us. Like the minute we stop fighting and focus on the bigger picture, because at the end of the day, you know, this is bigger than Nino Brown. And it's definitely bigger than Kanye West.
I want to transition a little bit into hip hop. We're talking about hip hop, but as far as what's going on down in Georgia, we see the DA definitely putting the pedal to the metal when it comes to not playing with artists, in particular hip hop artists, and things that they may be doing off in and out the studio and out of the rap game. Right? We see what's going on currently with Gunna. He just got his 4th appeal denied for release, and it doesn't look like they're going to let him out anytime soon. And she says there's more. What do you think about the current situation down in Georgia in particular when it comes to hip hop artists and their past and they're coming back to biting them in their ass? What do you think about that?
Well, criminal justice reform, you know, is a real thing. You know what I'm saying? And that 94 crime bill that was put in place by Joe Biden and Bill Clinton, the 3 strikes you out, you know, ghost dope. You know, we've been fighting. And that's one of the reasons why I ended up getting connected to Trump's administration, was to fight for criminal justice reform. And we did get sentencing reduction laws passed. And these are some of the people that we've been fighting to bring home that can be sentenced for 20, 30, 40 years and be separated from their family. You know, I watched us all come together and fight about separation of families at the border, but nobody ever considered the family separations that happens within the border. You know, they've been separating our families since the days of slavery, when they had us up on the auction block and the mama crying and hollering and screaming because they taken her baby or her son. They've been separating our families since they gave us Section 8 certificates and told us we would take care of you and the children, but the baby daddy can't live in the house. They've been separating our family since we've been getting arrested. Like, it's just the law. If you get arrested, your kid doesn't go to jail with you. So many of our fathers and some of our mothers and grandmothers and aunties, all of our families been separated because all of us got somebody right now that we know that's probably in prison. That situation that's going on with YSL, YF and Lucci, all of that stuff is very, very sad. And what I want to say is we have to be smarter and we have to be wiser, because at this point it's a trap. And I think that's why they called it trap music, right? Because it's a trap. And we have to be wise enough to know not to give a tape confession, right? Like, come on. At some point, we got to become critical thinkers. Now, I don't condone that type of behavior in no kind of way, because I lost my children's father. He was in the rap game. He was murdered last year by a friend. You know, we just got to stop contributing to the destruction. We are contributing factors to our own demise. And that's what we're seeing in that very situation. But I can hope and pray that while what's happening in Fulton County and they have this huge focus, you know, on these rappers and the rapping gangs or whatever, that they don't forget about MS-13, you know, while they leaving the borders open and we got all of these illegal immigrants. Because before Joe Biden took in office, like, I remember them fighting against all of these MS-13 gangs. But now all of a sudden the focus is now on hip hop and local rappers. So we got to be wiser and watch what we say.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with C. Dolores Tucker, but we had a conversation maybe a couple weeks ago about how she was probably right about, you know, her advocacy against, you know, the negative hip hop.
Tupac said Dolores Tucker was a motherfucker. That's what he said. I remember. I was a huge Tupac fan too, but was she right?
We said, yeah. We said, unfortunately, yeah, she was correct. When she, I mean, my cousin articulated it beautifully when he said she was like that grandmother, that wise grandmother that knew and seen it way before it happened and was trying to warn people. But because we were so passionate about something, we ain't hear it. And now look at the monster we have.
And we most certainly have created a monster. And although it is true We do need to fight against systemic racism. We need to fight white supremacy, but we have to understand that Black life is under attack at every angle. We have to deal with white supremacy. We got to deal with statistic racism. We have to deal with the women and even some of our men now having no value for life. The minute that they get pregnant, the first thing we screaming is abortion. We have to recognize the fact that a lot of our rappers being murdered every single month. We hearing about a different rapper, and it's by somebody that's from our own community. If we're gonna put a value on Black life, then we got to put a value on Black life. It ain't no one way to end Black life. We just gonna go after white supremacy and not add in all of these other factors, because all of them are contributing factors to our extinction or depopulation.
Powerful.
Absolutely. Now, you being in the public eye and kind of having an eye on what the media and what the other side looks like in the industry, doing various interviews and things like that. What's your overall thoughts on Hollywood and music and entertainment and how it's ran? We often hear the conspiracy theories of how, you know what I mean, the Illuminati is running it, or there's powers that be that have their hand over it. And I mean, we see things in real time that further those thoughts and further those opinions, but kind of having an eye on it from your perspective. What's your overall thoughts on Hollywood?
I gotta agree with Malcolm X when he said, "He who controls the media controls the masses." Because what we're doing now is we're being fed information from other people's thoughts or opinions and not necessarily doing our own research. Like, we just click on the Breakfast Club and hear what Charlamagne the God had to say in regards to his comments to Kanye. But did we sit down and watch the video in its entirety for ourselves? We might get up and click on the Shade Room and see one little small clip from the Shade Room, but we didn't see what happened 30 seconds before. We didn't see what happened 30 seconds after. So we're not getting all of the information. How can we make informed decisions if we don't have the information? So they are basically discriminating against us and oppressing us by withholding important information that can possibly save our lives when it comes to making a critical decision.
I want to go back when your time in prison. How did you hook up with Donald Trump? Did you like advocate to hook up with him? Can you kind of take us back to that whole time?
So, mind you, I was in prison back in the early 2000s. So in 2004, I was chained to a bed, giving birth to my daughter with the sheriff watching. This is for a nonviolent charge. I'm a 3 times national bestseller. My book, Lies of a Real Housewife, made Amazon #1 3 different times. You may have heard about it because I was sued by Phaedra Parks for $30 million for telling my life story. Wow. But I told my life story. I ended up winning the lawsuit, having the right to go on and tell my story. And after I won the lawsuit, I had a reality show on BET that was produced by Queen Latifah called From the Bottom Up. While I was on that reality show, the minute after, I think Trump had announced that he was running for president. When I had gotten out of prison, however, back in 2005, I had absolutely nowhere to go. I had 4 children at home waiting on me. I was given a $25 check and a bus ticket, told to go start my life over. While I was in prison, my mother had died of a massive heart attack. My grandmother died 6 months after my mother. I wasn't allowed to attend either funeral because Brian Nichols had shot up the courthouse. So when I was released from prison and me and my children were like going from shelter to shelter, this is when my transition in politics really began, because prior to me going to prison, I could collect welfare, I could get Section 8. But once I got out of prison and was a convicted felon, I no longer had access to those things. So now I had to really begin to build my life, try to figure out how to start a business so that I could survive. So one day I ended up going to this women and children crisis center looking for help for me and my kids. Mm-hmm. And I walked in that day looking for a job. And the lady sitting behind the desk hired me, helped me get my apartment, but it happened to be Alveda King, who is the niece of Martin Luther King Jr. Okay. Alveda King, after all of these years, I continued to work with her. We continued to work in our community in the nonprofit sector, but she was connected to President Donald Trump. And so I had watched one day, Trump made an announcement that if anybody wanted to fight for criminal justice reform, or if they knew somebody that had been left behind in prison, that he would be willing to talk to them, because he was looking at the First Step Act. And I saw, like Jay-Z and Meek Mill and everybody was like, nah, we don't rock with Trump. We're not going. And so I called my godmother, Alvita, and I was like, this not about me. But if I can use my story to help pass criminal justice reform, to help get laws changed, to get people home, then that's what I want to do. And I think it was maybe a week later, I was sitting in front of President Trump. I was telling him my story about how I had been born in this dysfunctional family, why I made the mistakes I made, me going to prison, why people need a second chance. And the next week, he signed the most historic criminal justice reform legislation ever. He signed the First Step Act, and then he also made it illegal for them to chain women to the bed during childbirth. From there, I went on to advocate for other people that were in prison, in particular Kwame Kilpatrick, the former mayor of Detroit. I walked his paperwork into the White House myself, and we know that on Trump's last day in office, he commuted Kwame's sentence. So there were a lot of people that were released during Trump's administration. There are a lot of people that got their sentences commuted, and that was my fight, reuniting our families. I ended up getting a pardon myself. Once I got the pardon myself, I said, you know what? Let me run for office. Let me be an example to our community, to our people. I come from where they come from. My story is just like theirs. Like, you can't deny me, but let me run for office and show us that there is another way, right? That we can still be successful. It don't matter if we were single mothers. It don't matter if we went to prison. It don't matter if we have a baby daddy serving life without parole and another baby daddy in the grave. None of those things matter. You can rebuild yourself. And I'm still here fighting. That's where we're at.
Hearing that, I want to ask you a question about Section 8, because we know a lot of people and reasons why they put people on Section 8 is so they can get so dependent on it that they don't ever have the mind and the will to get out of that. You were forced into that. You had it before. You went into prison. You got out. You weren't allowed to have it. You had 4 kids, and you just had to start digging and getting back out. What happens hypothetically if Section 8 and assistance gets taken away completely? Do we, as a people, the people on it, do they just crumble, in your opinion, or will they rise, and will we see more stories like yours?
I would hope that they would rise and we would see more stories like mine, because you've got to figure out a way to survive. Survival kicks in, right? It's just like having a spoiled kid. If your parents are doing everything for you, why should you do it yourself, right? If we got some grown kids out here, they don't even pay their own rent. Parents paying their rent. They don't even think about paying it because somebody is paying it for them. But if you find yourself in a position where you have to do it, then you'll figure out a way to come. And I think that, I hate to say it, but going to prison and having that experience, it actually saved my life, because had I still been allowed to receive those benefits, I never would have stepped out of that safety net, because my whole mind, my whole way of thinking back then was, man, I won't be able to make enough money, or I won't be able to survive, or I got to work, or what if I have to stop my job because I got to take care of the kids, or I can't afford child care, because they also keep you trapped. Because they say in order to get Section 8, you can only make a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
In order to get these welfare, these 30-day food coupons, you can only make a certain amount of money. So even with the food stamps, I had a revelation with that. Like, they give you just enough to keep you coming back. Mm-hmm. Like, I saw Joe Biden offer illegal immigrants $400,000 a piece crossing the border. Black people struggling here in America, they're only going to offer you 30-day food coupons, and then you got to come back. This is how they keep you tied to their system. I know a lot of women, not even 400,000, give us 25,000 to jump up and start a business. Give us a down payment on a home, anything. Let's be serious.
Right. Speaking of that, what do you think about the Biden administration? I'll go out on a limb and say it seems like, for me, everything was better under the Trump administration, despite some of his outlandish comments. What do you think about the change from Trump to the Biden administration?
I mean, we keep it clean on here, but I'm assuming that all of us from the streets, we know that it was more money circulating in the streets when Trump was in office. Trump is a businessman, right? So Joe Biden and his people, they get in office, and their whole agenda is LGBTQ, and it's nothing against that community. I have a child that's a member of that community. For those people that know my story, they may have seen me on Dr. Phil. But at the end of the day, why are we being characterized or basing the civil rights movement off of, you know, a sexual preference. And we have lost our fight for civil rights as a people. And we were worried about hurting feelings. We worried about being silenced like they doing to our boy Kanye. And at the whole time, there's a whole agenda, right? Silencing people like me, silencing people like Kanye, making you think that all Republicans are white supremacists and don't care about you. But then there's an agenda coming after our children. Nobody wants to talk about what's being forced on our children in the Board of Education signed by executive order by Joe Biden. Like, it's not okay for you to send John to school and the teacher to tell him his name is Mary. It's not okay. We have to protect our children. And the reason why we got to protect our children is because when we protect our children, we protect our bloodline. Like I said before, does Black life matter or not?
Powerful.
Yeah.
Definitely powerful. We have Angela Stanton King on the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. Hit that like button, that 5-star rating, wherever you happen to be watching or listening. We definitely appreciate it. Ms. King, I want to ask you about the male role in the household and how it's viewed in Hollywood and throughout media. How important is the male image to us as a people, and how important is the imagery? And what do you think about the imagery and how we're portrayed in America?
I think that we have gone so far away from common sense when we have to ask how important is the male. The male is so important that the woman can't even get pregnant without the male. We can talk about all of these different type of relationships all we want, but at the end of the day, it takes a man's sperm and a woman's egg in order to create a life. So if it takes the sperm from a man and the egg from a woman to create a life, to create me, to create both of you sitting there, if it takes both parties to create the life, then most certainly it takes both parties to what? Sustain the life, okay? Now, many of us know that we have come from single parent homes and we have had situations where maybe the father wasn't present and we turned out just fine. A lot of us have not, but there is a reason for the father to be in the home. Now, my story, perfect example. Got out of prison, I had 3 sons, right? 2 daughters. My oldest daughter was in New York, but my 3 sons. Here I am, a single mother, struggling. Nobody wants to give me a job. I don't get any housing assistance. I'm out here trying to make it happen, and the fathers are in prison. Now, there is an absence there. So now I have, right, a 21, I'm sorry, but he was 19 at the time, a 21-year-old who basically idolizes, looks up to me, wants to be just like me, looks just like me, has basically transitioned into me. It is very important for the male to be in the home because the male is what? The provider, the protector. There's a reason for these roles. See, now we got an education system that wants to take away your rights. It's a reason for the mother to be in the home and for the father to be out working. The mother is the nurturer. She is there to protect the mind of the child. What happens when the father is not in the home and the mama is at work? All of a sudden, Hollywood becomes the parent. The teacher becomes the parent. The internet becomes the parent. And over time, you realize as an adult, the parent, that you looking somebody in the face that you don't even know. 18 years done went by. You have let a public education school system have your child's mind for 40 hours straight a week. Let's think about it. When you come home, you're tired. Most parents, especially in the single parent home, when you come home and you got 4 children, you want to go through everybody's homework, but do you got enough time to go through everybody's homework and cook and feed them and wash clothes and clean up? It's not really realistic. So yes, we do need to go back to the nuclear family, and look what's happening. Our children have no respect. Like, they're getting killed by the police, by each other, because there's no value of life. And if we're not disciplining our children in the home and making them respect us as parents, how do you believe that they're going to respect any other member of authority?
Very well said. Are you do we have any upcoming like political, runs that you're going to be trying to go for? Mayor?
Man,
governor,
I'm right now I'm kind of focused on this Auntie Angie's house. AuntieAngie'sHouse.com. People can go check out. But this is a property that I acquired in the historic King District, and we're going to turn this into a maternity home for women. Right now, up on the WhiteHouse.gov, they have a proclamation. It's called the Black Maternal Health Week, where they are saying that Black women are 3 times likely to die compared to white women, regardless of their income or education. Now, that in itself is so profound, because I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Black women, we've been giving birth since the beginning of time. We done went from grandmama and them having 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 babies to now y'all telling us that we're dying 3 times likely to white women, regardless of our income or education. That means that I can have enough money to afford the best health care. You telling me I'm still gonna die. That means I could be the smartest person in the world and you telling me that I'm still gonna die. So like I said, there is a direct attack on Black life. I don't know what's going on in politics right now. I mean, every time I hear somebody Black in Congress stand up, the first thing they talking about is why Black women need abortion. Black women need resources. We need to make sure that we're protecting, preserving, and maintaining Black life. So I want to start back in the community, get back involved in the community. I want to see what they're going to do with some of these upcoming elections and just make sure that they're honest and fair. And then I may possibly put my hat back in the ring. But right now I want to focus on helping mothers and children. That's what I want to do. So anybody that wants to support that effort, guys, please visit AuntieAngie'sHouse.com.
Real quick, what's your opinion on how the Democratic Party, or how politics in general, like to kind of focus on a lot of media to sway the viewers' eyes and viewers' opinions? In particular, the Democratic Party with Black women. Like, they are a huge reason why Democratic candidates are very successful throughout their presidential runs. And when you hear the policies and when you see what's going on after the fact, it doesn't really seem to cater to Black women at all, but those are the ones, in fact, that put them in office. What's the strategy behind that, and why do you think that is?
Well, we got to break out of the matrix, because everything that we're seeing right now is about identity politics, right? You want to vote for somebody that looks like you. You want to vote for somebody that sounds like you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is what's best for you. We got to wake up from this, all kinfolk, right? Just because you Black and you sound good don't mean that you're what's best for me. What we got to do is begin voting for policy and not people. That's where we fail at in our community, because we don't vote policy. We vote for the person that we like. We see all of these campaign commercials that come anytime there's an election. All we see is campaign commercials being ran on each candidate that's slandering both candidates. Oh, this person did that. This person did that. And nobody is focused on the policy. What policies do we need to be voting for in this upcoming election? If we are talking about Black life matters for real, do we need to be voting for people that the only option they have for us is abortion? I mean, don't you think that we as a people are more deserving than that, to be sitting up on the doctor's table somewhere and them going in and removing our babies from our womb? I think that we are deserving of more than just abortion. And the fact that they believe we can't think beyond anything sexually explicit. Everything in Congress right now is about Ukraine, illegal immigrants, gender identity issues for children, and abortion. How does any of that empower or uplift Black life in any type of way?
Doesn't. Powerful. We definitely appreciate you, Miss Angela Stanton King, on the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. Before we get up out of here, please let the people know where they can find you, your YouTube handle, social media handle, any upcoming events or book that you would like to promote. Please do right now.
Yes, guys. So Ask Show TV is the Instagram. As you see behind me on this shelf back here, we're over on this way. You'll see I have all of my books. For those of you that do not know, I'm also a publishing house. StantonPublishingHouse.com. You can go there. You can get copies of all of the books that I've written. And I can also help you publish. We know that we're dealing with a lot of censorship. So if there's something that needs to get out, you guys need to hit me up. StantonPublishingHouse.com. Also, we are looking for everybody to support this initiative for Auntie Angie's House, guys. We asking the community to come together. We asking you all to donate at least $5 a month. We have homeless pregnant women that need somewhere to go. We have women that are in current shelters right now that need somewhere to go. Let's help these women and these children. And also, you guys can catch me every Saturday morning from 10 to 12 on TNTradio.live. We are global radio with 6 million downloads per month. America's Living Room with your favorite host, Angela Stanton King. Guys, it has been awesome. Thank you for having me on the show. And hopefully you guys will come be guests on my show.
Anytime. Let us know.
Yes.
We there. Thank you so much. It's Angela Stanton King on the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. Salute. Thank you so much.